The first reading strategy that we're going to look at is called identifying what you know. And how this reading strategy works is you aim to help learners connect to the text through applying their background knowledge. So when learners are faced with unfamiliar or difficult information, you want learners to be able to apply their background knowledge to the information to help them create meaning and understanding. When explaining a concept or reading a text, encourage learners to identify information, content or terminology that they already know within the text. Remember that often reflecting on the meaning of words that they already know will enable them to acquire a deeper understanding of new information and text. So what's key to remember is that learners are working with information that they are struggling to understand. And a key strategy is to read the information, find any information. It could be a word, just a piece of terminology. It could be a section of the content or certain information that they already know. And through using that information that they know, they're going to try and make sense and decode the rest of the text. Now, there are certain questions you can use in your classroom and in your teaching to prompt learners to draw on their background knowledge. So you can ask learners, what do they already know? So you've read the text and then you ask them to find something that they already know. It is just as important for learners to identify what they do not understand. That way they can apply different strategies to try and work it up, or perhaps ask someone next to them, ask the teacher. They can look it up in the book or on the web. So although you want to identify what you know, it is just as important to identify what you do not understand. You could ask learners, what terms or words have you previously learnt about? Often, many subjects build on content year after year after year. And much of the terminology flows through the progression through these grades. And so even if the text is more difficult to understand because it's of a higher caliber, there might be terminology that the learner is already familiar with. And if they can identify that, then they could possibly use that to decode and understand the rest of the text. Another question is, have you ever read about or seen this somewhere before? It doesn't matter if the learner hasn't read about this anywhere and they actually cannot apply anything to the text. But you want them to think back, oh goodness, I remember reading an article in a magazine, or my mom told me about this, or my brother did a project on this, and what do I remember from it? Can I use that information and that past background knowledge of mine to decode the text? So let's work through an example together. On your screen right now is a selection of text about the water cycle. I'm not going to read it all through with you, and it's not important to read it yourself right now. But we're going to look at how we can use the key questions in order to unearth some of the learner's background knowledge. So a key question could be, what do you know already? And here you're going to read through the information with your learners and then often allow them to read it on their own. And then ask them while they're reading it to write down something that they know already. And again, it's absolutely fine if they cannot identify anything that they know. An example could be that I know when water evaporates, it turns into vapor. So that already is a little bit of background knowledge that they're bringing into the water cycle. Another question is, what don't you understand? And here you can ask learners to take a highlighter or a colored pen or pencil and underline anything that they do not understand. And an example response from the learner could be that water vapor condenses into water droplets. That's what it states in the text. How does this happen? How does water turn from a vapor into a droplet? Lastly, and the last key question is, have you ever read about or seen this somewhere before? And often learners may have read about the water cycle somewhere and already have some prior knowledge on the topic. Again, it could be, yes, my brother is 2 years older than I am, and he told me the reason our washing dries on the line is because of the sun's energy and it causes the water to evaporate. So although the learner hasn't gone and learnt about the water cycle, they have got some knowledge prior to learning about the water cycle through their brother's experience. And that is how the first strategy works. Identifying what you know, looking through the text, and identifying any information that you've possibly come across before or learnt about before to help you understand the rest of the text.